We went too fast. We went way too fast.
Went too fast?
Yeah.
Welcome to Garden of the Spirit, a class studying apples from the orchard. This class meets in Longmeadow, Massachusetts, really, truly the center of the universe, and is held in memory of Malka Ruth Bas Moshe and Margaret Vogel of blessed memory. Apples from the Orchard contains selections of teachings of Kabbalah from the Arizal, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, based on the weekly Torah portion, superbly translated and explained by Rabbi Moshe Wisniewski. So, we got to 1008 last week. We said we're going to go.
We did?
Yes.
We're going to go. We said we're
We're
going
going
to
back
read
up.
over from 1007.
I don't remember what I was going to say. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so last week we talked about two types of mitzvahs, the active mitzvahs and the prohibitions. We showed how these are hinted at in the line where Hashem tells Moshe not to say Hashem, not to pronounce Hashem's name, Yud and the Hey, and the Vav and the Hey, but instead we're going to substitute another name for that, and we add them up, and they equal the words, and we were able to get 365 and 248. The first two letters, Yud and the Hey, were connected with the prohibitions, 365, and the last two letters, Vav and the Hey, were connected with the active mitzvahs. We also said that there were two couplings, two unions that take place in the spheres and the parts of, and that is among the intellect, between Chachma and Bina, and then likewise in the emotions, Zah and Malchus. Let's go back to the bottom of 1007. By this they meant.
By this they meant that the passive commandments are dependent upon the two letters Yud Hey, which indicate Abba and Ima, and the active commandments are dependent upon the two letters Vav Hey, which indicate Zer Anpin and Nukva. Thus, when a person performs a commandment, he affects both types of coupling. This is because the first two letters of the word for commandment, mitzvah, mem sadik, transform via atbash to Yud Hey, which signifies the coupling of Abba and Ima. Atbash is the most common of the various methods used in Kabbalah and elsewhere in the Torah as well to relate concepts by substituting the letters of a word with other letters according to a specific algorithm. The Atbash, the first letter of the alphabet Aleph, is replaced by the last letter Tav, the second letter Base by the penultimate letter Shin, and so on. These two first pairs of substitutions form the word Atbash. Mem pairs with Yud and Tzadik pairs with Hey.
Mem pairs with Yud. So mitzvah
Mitzvah, yeah.
is Yud and Hey.
Which are the negative commandments.
Yes.
In general, transforming a word or set of letters to another via a substitution algorithm indicates that in the resulting word or set of words, the idea represented by the first word is hidden or less intense. Hence, to reach it, the letters have to be decoded. In this case, the idea of Yud Hey, the union of Abba and Ima, is hidden in the first two letters of the word mitzvah. The second two letters of both the name Chavaya and the word mitzvah are the same, Vav Hey.
Okay, so you don't need any substitution. So
Well, it is substituted. Yeah,
not the last two letters.
Wait.
The first two letters.
right.
Oh, Bab Hey for mitzvah.
Vav Hey is Vav
Vav
Hey.
Hey, well, yeah.
Now,
Interesting.
so now the first two letters, that's the Mem and Sadik, or the first two letters of Hashem's name, Yud and Hey, refer to the
Negative.
prohibitions,
Correct.
the proscriptions. Okay, this coupling.
Well, this makes sense.
This coupling is accomplished by observing the passive commandments as alluded to by the fact that the numerical value of the word for my name plus that of the two letters Yud Hey equals 365, as stated.
And Hashem says, Zeshmi Liolam, this is my name for all time. So the word for my name, Shmi, equals, we said this last week, 350.
Plus the Yud Hey.
Plus the Yud and the Hey,
Which is 15,
365, the number of prohibitions. Okay? And that's what we said we'll review.
To explain this, the numerical value of the word for my name is also that of the regressive iteration of the 72 name Havaya, which corresponds to Abba and the letter Yud of the name Havaya, plus the regressive iteration of the 63 name Havaya, which corresponds to Ima and the letter Hey of the name Havaya. As we have explained previously, the name Havaya is spelled out in Kabbalah in 4 basic ways, such that it equals 72, 63, 45, and 52. These 4 numerical equivalents themselves correspond to 4 letters of the name Havaya, and thus to the 4 basic partsufim, the sfirot, etc. In the following chart, the letters that are varied in order to produce the different values are indicated in bold.
The letters that are varied, that's the bold letters are different in different combinations.
That's the Yud, Aleph, and Hey, yeah.
Okay, so in the Yud,
In the Yud, you could have,
the Hebrew word for what they call spell out or expanded spelling is milui, which means filling. Okay, I know you guys right away thinking about food and bakeries and stuff. Hamantash.
oh, is that what I was thinking of that, but that's okay. Oh, yeah,
What do you say?
He
I
likes
said watermelon hamantash. He comes up with these
Okay.
crazy ideas.
Sophisticated.
I like to.
At least he didn't say pickle. At least he didn't say pickle.
At least he didn't say pastrami hamantash. We're learning.
Okay, so
Schnitzel
if we expand and we use the letter yud for the hey and also for the middle of the vav, you know this, we've been through it many times, we get 72, and that corresponds to the letter yud of Hashem's name, and in parts of it corresponds to Abba. Then we have a combined filling, here you go, watermelon and pickle. The combined filling,
Is the
we
Yud,
have-
Yud and Aleph.
the letter hey is expanded to yud, but the letter vav has an aleph in the middle instead of a yud in the middle.
yeah.
Then we get 63. It corresponds to the second letter, the hey, and to ima. If we expand the letter hey to be hey aleph, then we get the lowest number, that's 45, but it's actually the third letter of Hashem's name, the Vav, and it corresponds to Ze'er Anpin. And if we expand the last one, and we expand with the letter Hey, it's not an Aleph, not a Yud, but it's Hey, Hey. We also have nothing in the center of the Vav. Then we end up with the number 52. This corresponds to the last
Nukva.
letter of Hashem's name, Hey, and in parts of it corresponds to Nukva. What is the letter? What's the filling letter here?
Hey in the last one.
Hey,
Hey.
hey.
So
What
I'm
letter?
just-
What letter represents Nukva? Hey.
Hey.
Hey,
So we have Hey, and it corresponds to Nukva also. So we're taking the feminine letter and using it here, and that is actually corresponds to Nukva.
The regressive iteration of a name is produced by considering the first letter of the name, then the first 2 letters, then the first 3 letters, and so on until the whole name is spelled out for the 72 name. This iteration yields, which is Yud, the Yud Vav Dalid, which is 20. Then you have the Yud, which is Yud.
Yud plus Yud plus Hey.
Plus, yeah. Then
Plus Yud plus Hey plus Vav.
Then Yud plus Hey plus Vav plus Hey.
In expanded spelling.
And the whole thing is 184.
That's for the 70.
For the 63 name,
We did have that.
yeah.
We probably had it several times of the iterations.
I think it explains more, or in a more basic way now than before, but remember that apparently this was started in the middle.
Yeah, they didn't start with braces. But,
For the-
okay.
For the 63 name, this iteration yields 166. Because you have Yud, then, but it's a different, yeah, different.
Again, Yud plus Hey, Yud plus Hey plus Vav, Yud plus Hey plus Vav plus Hey. What's the difference?
It's in the Vav, it's Vav, Aleph, Vav, and they've got some different letters in there.
The difference is the letter Vav
The Vav is Vav, Aleph, Vav instead
instead of Yud
of
Vav.
Vav, yeah, Vav, yeah. So you get 166.
9 left, and you have the Vav twice, that's 18 less.
Right.
The first one's 184, this is 18 less at 166.
And 184 plus 166 is 350, the numerical value of my name, Shmi. When we combine this value with that of the letters Yud Hey, which is the source of these two names, that is the iterations, the total is 365, the number of passive commandments.
In other words, we add
Yud Hey.
the root letters
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
Okay.
The technical term for regressive iteration is acharayim, which means backs. This is because this operation on a name indicates how the divine effulgence represented by this name is progressively withdrawn from reality. We are to visualize how first the first letter retreats, and then the first two letters, then the first three letters, etc., as if we are watching the name disappear into its source head first, leaving us with the progressively less and less of its end or back. In contrast, the basic letters of a name indicate its direct revelation into reality.
Huh? Okay, the second part says that if you just have the 4 letters of the name itself, then it's direct with the world, with reality.
Yeah.
But if you have regressive iteration, the Hebrew word is acharayim, back. I think we may have actually have a
I
few
think so, yeah.
terms even in Hebrew for this. I think one of them may have been ribua. The operation on name. What is effulgence? Anyone know?
Emanation.
Effulgence. Okay.
I'm making
Divine
that.
effulgence, yeah. It's like an effervescence.
Use effulgence in a sentence. Okay.
The effulgence of the volcano,
Yes.
cover.
Correct.
Cover
We
the,
are.
the island. There you go, how's that? The sky.
But it must be some brightness or something like that.
I think. I'm reading what he says here, and you see how the word retreats into itself. I'm wondering if it means you start with all 4 letters, then you only give the first 3 letters, then the first 2 letters, and then the first letter. It's just switching the order.
Yeah.
It kind of
It's the same result.
backs up into the.
It's the same result.
Of course. Interesting. Okay.
That's why they call it regression, I guess.
That's why he uses the word regressive.
Yeah.
This leads to the following idea. This indicates that by observing the passive commandments, the individual causes my name, which is equivalent to the backs of Abba and Ima, to join with the fronts, which are indicated by the letters Yud Hey. The total of this union is then 365. Thus, by observing passive commandments, we ensure that whatever withholding of divine blessing is necessary for the world to operate properly is accomplished together with, permeated by, and for the sake of direct revelation.
This,
What?
yeah, this demands explanation.
That's an interesting concept, that if we do the
You want to do me a favor?
prohibition,
Give us a minute or two.
yes,
I want to make sure everyone hears.
oh,
So give a minute or two. Jim's looking, Alan's looking,
oh.
Rabbi's looking. Okay, Gershon.
Yeah, so apparently by doing the prohibitions, we help the filtering
The what?
of the energy that comes and continuously, I guess, creates the world, wherever. So we're helping not to obliterate by an excessive amount of energy, to operate properly. Direct revelation.
Okay.
So I never thought that we were doing it for this purpose. The
All right. Alan?
like
It appears to me, Chaim Vital,
No,
No.
you have a,
no, I don't have a
Comment.
comment. I don't
Jim?
have comments. Yeah, it is.
We're allowing similar, I would say similar, we're allowing beneficence to flow in this world in the way that it is supposed to at this point, I would say. And we need to do that because there has to be some, I'd say, gevura, or some judgment, some restrictive process, some no, which is prohibition. And we need to enforce that prohibitive process, at least on ourselves, to be able to have beneficence flow the way it should at this time. I don't know if it's because beneficence is so intense, like tohu, but I think it's more that it's more to allow the flow to happen, because if we don't restrict, if we have too much whatever, we go into we create barriers to the beneficence from really flowing by not doing the prohibitions. We create a barrier to beneficence flowing, and or because there's a fumbling of the world. Everything becomes possible. Everything becomes relative. Everything becomes on the same equal and valued plane, where in that way beneficence can flow. It's the restrictiveness with the prohibition. I shouldn't eat this. I shouldn't act this way. I shouldn't do this, which allows a flow. If I take away the prohibitions, I can do this, I can do that, I can do that. Then we're back to this relative crazy land, and when we support things that prohibit the beneficence from coming. So it's more a kind of a restrictive piece that's helpful for beneficence. I'm getting it.
And you also remind me of something I just heard.
yes, so I think the prohibitions allow the proper amount, let's say, of beneficence, and maybe what we were commenting before we started recording, all these events or things or trends that are happening in the world, maybe it's because people don't restrict themselves, and then
Right.
some
Do-
extra beneficence is going the wrong way.
Do not do such and such, say sexually. Do not do this and that, et cetera, et cetera. If we don't have that, we block the beneficence from flowing.
No, I'm not sure it's blocked, but
Right,
it's
we're blocking the proper flow.
Yeah,
If we don't have that prohibitive piece.
we're out of equilibrium, out of balance. If
And it doesn't come down, then it's like, there's no value.
If we violate the prohibition?
If we don't have the prohibition.
we don't do the
If we don't,
prohibition,
let's assume we
do.
violate the prohibitions, which is the same thing. I'm saying if we violate the prohibitions, or they don't exist, let's assume the prohibitions don't exist,
Just watch the tape.
which is to violate them, then what's allowed is like Mitzrayim to me. It's all, everything flows from this baseness, and it blocks the flow from the up down.
You remind me of a,
That's what I'm saying.
you remind me of a presentation I attended a couple months ago, and the theme was that if you say yes to everything, you say yes to nothing.
Right.
uh-huh.
You have to have some kind of boundaries.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
No,
You have to say no.
I didn't say yes to everything. Just that thing. I agree.
All right.
Believe me, I said no
The-
plenty of times, right?
There are two opposite forces that occur in order for the world to exist. On the one hand, you need the divine, what we call here, the divine beneficence, or the divine light, to shine down into the world, but you also need the light to be blocked from the world. Two opposite forces. The easy way to bridge that is to refer to a regulator, because we could all relate to a regulator. We all understand a regulator. We all understand that it regulates the flow. You can't flood your engine, your car won't start. I don't know if they do that anymore. In the olden days, we used to, when I was a kid, you could flood the engine.
When you were a kid, yeah.
We could flood, when I was a kid and I took the car out without asking, right? You could flood the engine.
That we know about.
So it has to be, obviously it has to be regulated. And what's happening is two diametrically opposed forces taking place. One that expresses, that emanates, that transmits, and the other one that withholds. This actually is a form of chesed. These are the two functions of chesed and gevura. But gevura actually acts as a regulator primarily as what's withholding the flow. But it also acts as a regulator to allow through the right amount that's coming from chesed. So this is how the two work in conjunction with each other. Over here we're talking about prohibitions. By definition, prohibition is withholding. It represents gevura, what's not going to shine forth. Not shining forth, withholding, is represented by the idea of, we said, the backs of Abba and Ima. It's represented by not shining, and the fact that it's passive, but by what he says here, I think the chiddush here is that by not violating the prohibitions, we cause the divine energy to
bring
come down.
Face to face.
Yeah, but we
Takes-
cause it, we actually do cause it to come
We cause
down.
light to come.
Through
the prohibition.
in simple terms, by not doing anything.
Yeah.
In the Talmud, it's called Shev al Tasa.
Yeah.
You sit and do nothing. You sit on your couch and you don't do anything. You know what? You just fulfilled the mitzvah of not sacrificing a regular animal in the Beis Hamikdash, or not sacrificing a korban outside of the Beis Hamikdash. You just fulfilled that mitzvah.
Whoa.
What are you doing? You're sitting on your couch. Yeah, you're sitting you're in your couch. And you're doing nothing.
I like that.
You like
would.
that?
Well,
That's
you
you.
gotta
That's
do
you.
more nothing than that, person.
No, that's what it says. So in a sense, it's a paradox, because by not doing, the reason I gave that example is I'm not talking about. I'm not giving an example where you have a strong urge to take something that's not yours and you control yourself. I'm not talking about something like that, which is which might be called active in a way. You have to actively restrain yourself. Thank you. So, in this sense, it is the most passive. It could be the most passive of passiveness. Yet, by doing that, we cause the divine energy to flow directly, which is something of a paradox.
Yes.
So this is why therefore it comes down like indirectly, like the mitzvah, the mem tzadik is atbash becomes vav hey. The two names, the 72 name and the 63 name, are regressive, which the Hebrew word is acharayim, which means backwards. So it's actually the word regressive means you're going backwards. So it all represents this idea, this paradox of through not doing something, we cause that the divine light shines directly.
And I see that, I agree with that. Also, though, some of the negative prohibitions, like don't steal, for example, by observing them, by not doing it, by not stealing, one is creating a space for the beneficence too. It's an active process, and
What's an active process?
by not stealing. Sometimes it's more active than just say the passive thing. But it's still a negative process, okay? And that negative process, which is a passive commandment, I'm still into that, still a passive, also creates the beneficence flowing. A system of justice can come in that way, a judicial system, a
structure.
A structure, an appropriate structure.
That
for the
one
world.
of the functions of gvura
Yeah.
is to create structure.
So when there was Noah, when there was theft, the people were stealing from each other, which was the kicker at the time to have the flood. People would steal. They committed all the other sins, but that was a kicker. So that whole structure of having non-theft between people was gone and had to be purified by Hashem. So I'm just saying that form of passive commandments is also here.
It's true, but I'm saying more than that.
Yeah.
Even something without any
Without
active
doing
at all,
anything.
without any active, where you don't have to restrain
No,
yourself.
I understand that.
Even in that case, and it's, totally passive, it's creating.
It creates that.
Yeah.
The prohibitive commandments create, as I say, beneficence by actualizing them, whichever way we do.
248 is the prohibitions.
No,
It's the-
No,
it's the
246,
the active.
The active.
Active,
So
360.
here's something very interesting. So the prohibitions are 365.
yes,
The active are 248.
yeah,
You take 248 from 365, what are you left with? 117. 117 has within it the word kale, Aleph Lamed, which is 31.
31.
And Elohim, which is 86. 31 and 86 is 117.
Okay.
It's one,
Everything is in balance.
Elohim is more, Gebura.
Yes. And Kel is considered chesed too. And if you put them both together, you get 613. You also have
Yeah. Don't
Moshe Rabbeinu.
Correct.
Right.
Okay, okay, this is wonderful. Jim, you want to continue?
Okay,
Amazing how well it fits.
so it appears to me, Chaim Vital, that this occurs, what we're talking about, because the coupling of Abba and Ima is higher and more hidden of the two types of coupling.
Let me point out that we said Zeh Shmi Le'olam, this is my name for all time. And Rashi even points out there, I think Rashi, that the word Le'olam for all time also means hidden. So that this concept is connected with
We
this
talked
word
about it.
Ne'lam, with the Hebrew word that he uses in the text, Ne'lam, which is hidden.
We talked about that last week, about that.
Yes.
And this week's part,
This week's parsha.
yeah. Two types of coupling. Therefore, since passive commandments are an expression of judgment, they cause the letters indicating the coupling they affect to be transformed by way of the algorithm. Thus, the Yud-Hey are transformed and hidden in the two letters Mem Tzaddik of mitzvah through Atbash. So, in general, the love between Abba and Ima is relatively mature, it's settled, it's consistent, and it's modest, like that of a mature couple, as opposed to that between Zer Anpin and Nukva, which is relatively impetuous, volatile, arduous, and uninhibited, like between a young couple. Despite the fireworks of young love, the settled passion of maturity is more consistent and enduring, despite being more subdued. Similarly, the love of God we express by refraining from what he opposes, by observing the passive commandments, is less outwardly expressive and colorful than fulfilling his directives by performing the active commandments, but reflects a deeper, more mature level of relationship. The ability to exercise self-control and restraint strikes deeper than the ability to demonstrate love actively. Both are necessary, but passivity causes the greater union. As a practical example, as husband and wife mature, they hopefully realize they can enhance their marriage more by refraining from negative acts than by doing positive ones. Refraining from negative acts would include avoiding anger, criticism, name-calling, including blasphemy, and arguments, as well as avoiding negative habits that make one less attractive or less functional partner, overeating, undersleeping, surrendering to animal drives, etc. Positive acts would include active demonstrations of consideration and love, such as giving compliments or gifts, helping each other out. Both are necessary, but it's harder, and therefore calls for real devotion to resist a second helping of chocolate cake, or a chance for a cutting criticism than it is to give a compliment.
Anyone catch that?
Yeah, a few lessons for,
Huh?
few lessons to,
No, I'm talking about,
Something.
yeah, this is wild, but I'm talking about the compliment is the wrong compliment.
Compliment.
compliment, yeah.
Yeah, complement.
That's different. That means like to,
Yeah.
So it's an I, not an E.
This is, yeah.
PLI
Yeah.
should be.
Yeah.
I put them in.
No, I
PLI,
didn't
not
catch.
E.
Yeah.
That's to supplement something.
Yeah,
I'm looking
This
at the,
it's an I.
at the
It
content.
is an
not
I.
the-
Should be an I.
Yeah. But
Those
this is
somewhat
wild.
angles.
Have you ever thought about this before?
It's a complementary angle.
About the
Yeah.
balance
No,
I-
about
and what it does for marriage.
the refraining
Oh,
from.
yeah, definitely.
Yes, I
Yes.
think about this all the
I
time.
never thought of that.
And
Oh,
I
yeah.
think about this all,
Finish refraining from
refraining,
negative-
that a relationship is stronger
Yes.
when you refrain from
Criticism.
from negative acts
This is you
than by doing positive acts.
You experience this all the time.
I experience,
That's
well, I
I never thought of it.
experience
Oh, yeah, it's-
in my practice, that some of the most primary causes, if not the primary causes of breaking a marriage up, are anger, criticism, and name-calling.
You know, you wouldn't think of it.
That the constant, the hostility, the anger, the criticism, and name-calling destroy the functions of the marriage. To overcome that, and to not cause that bitter tongue, that lethal speech out, is one way to help the marital process.
Can I, just before
I was like, you wouldn't think of that because you're not that kind of person.
cut it out, we're on
No,
the air.
no, I'm very
Cut it out,
serious.
we're on air.
A lot of us are.
No compliments.
A lot of us are that kind of, no, that.
What kind of person?
One who would actively say things to criticize somebody like that.
Listen, I don't live with my head in a plastic bag, okay?
I didn't say that.
My eyes are wide open.
Be living.
What?
If that were the case,
Oh, it could be open.
Would be living.
I am, okay, I try to keep my eyes very much open for my own personal relationships and in my family and so on and so forth, and with my circle. And also, I observe other people with their relationships. I never thought of it in this context.
Okay.
Okay?
But it
Obsequious.
a big cause
Let me,
of that
the,
process that I see.
for some reason, it seems that because, in a sense, the closer a relationship is, the greater the familiarity is, that the people feel more, feel that they have a greater license to say things and to criticize that they would never say or do to anyone else.
That's right.
That it's from the familiarity, from the closeness, that for whatever reason, they think that it's okay.
But you're vulnerable with that.
I always wonder,
People are
big word, I always wonder how these people survive at work. It's like they can have major issues, and major issues in relationships. And very often when it comes to work, they keep their mouth shut, they toe the line, and they're in a sense they're a different person. And then they walk in the door, and it's a whole different, and the personality changes just because they're. I wonder about this, like how do people see them at work? Yes. By the way, and I also work with newlyweds, and I counsel them, and I do before the wedding, and sometimes after the wedding, and sometimes not newlyweds, and and what Jim said is that word that you use is something that's very important. I think when people get married, they open themselves up, they make themselves vulnerable to their spouse in many, many ways. I heard, I forgot what it was. I heard someone talking, and he used to get his wife very upset that he would leave he'd take off his socks, I guess, by the couch or something, and then leave them there, and she would get really upset with him. And then things were quiet for a while until one day she moved the couch and found a whole bunch of socks on there. So all your worst habits, and even like your worst habits, you can't hide. You can hide from other people. It's very hard to hide from a spouse. That's worst habits. Other stuff that goes on, and when you get married, you really open yourself up to the other person, and you're vulnerable, obviously, physically, through intimacy, but also emotionally. And it is, and I think I tell couples that you have to earn that right. You have to earn that right to for the other person to open up to you. And if you violate, you don't respect you don't respect, and you're not aware of what the other person sacrifices in order to let you into their lives, then they will close up. And that's emotionally and obviously in physical as well. That's a big word.
Yeah, very true.
In any case, let's just, I mean, I never thought of it this way as, as the negative stuff versus the positive stuff. So you know what? I don't want flowers, I don't want gifts, treat me with respect.
With respect.
Yeah.
Well,
And you
that-
see this.
I see the big biggie, one of the big
Oh, yeah.
biggies. There are other biggies, certain, again, back to the culture and the license and that type of thing, that's a biggie. Sexual license and activity, that's a biggie. But this is a core.
Again, not showing respect
Not-
Yeah.
for the other person's,
Yeah, it's a spit in the heart, not just the face.
To spit in the eye.
A spit in the heart,
the heart.
not just the face. It's spit,
Wow.
spit deep. That's why I'm saying it's got a vulnerability, it's spit deep.
Unbelievable.
So, and this is, again, with a universe without prohibition, with a relativistic, secularized process, we lose this. We lose this.
So-
And that's so precious to.
So here's a few things. Look at how our culture has changed through openness and encouraging relationships, especially where people are not emotionally prepared for it.
Yeah,
And look at where we are, look what's going on,
yeah,
and right, what's happening, all the violence among husband. Every day you turn on, you look at the news on the internet, there's another story. Oh, they found, a woman is missing, found her body. It's like, it's insane.
that's it.
By the same token, but they've, what was I gonna say? And it's been encouraged, the borders have been taken down. The borders, the lines that you don't cross, that A should happen before B.
The light comes through by means of prohibitions. Light comes through, beneficence flows. The elimination of the prohibitory process has created a swarm, a sludge, and a horrible place, particularly as we open up and become vulnerable in this process. Everything becomes misdirected.
They've,
And
There's-
that's why I said barriers.
But in some ways, I see glimmers of hope in the way people do things. I'll use an example. What I've been experiencing myself over the past couple of months in different things, from strangers. Like the other day, I was coming back from New York. We stopped at a rest stop. Coming out, I was leaving. There was a guy coming in front of me. He was probably 10 feet in front of me. He opened the door to go out. He turned just at the door, saw me walking with a cane, came back and opened the door and opened the door for me so I wouldn't have to struggle. And the same thing with the outside door. I've been experiencing this more and more, where people are noticing other people in their surroundings who may need help, and they're doing little things.
yeah.
And
Yeah, it's not- it's
and,
a-
and when you say thank you, they answer welcome, and and that makes them feel good. But I'm noticing more and more, people have no idea who they are just doing it because they see that they can help.
Yeah, maybe you're noticing it.
I'm noticing it more.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I'm
absolutely.
noticing it more.
It's not,
And
you know,
it's-
it's not gone.
What?
And there's a lot of good, and there's a lot of
That's
people
good.
who do
There's a
good.
lot of
I get that.
You were if you look at,
I'm hoping it'll overcome
if you look
more-
on the whole, there was this,
Oh, yeah.
I think a book just came out. You know, they've been pushing for the last 20, 30, whatever, 20 years, 30 years, trying to educate people to be more sensitive and
Right.
that men should be less aggressive, and, right, you're not allowed to do tackle football anymore, you're not allowed to do touch football anymore, and all this kind of stuff, and then they've been working on this. I think another book just came out a few weeks ago, that from some study, that the boys are just as bad as
Yeah, they are.
bad they
Oh.
were from the 50s. Nothing's changed. Trying to change human, it's this mindset, trying to change human nature. You know what? We had a lot of good things going. There was a lot of Michigas that wasn't around.
Right.
Wasn't going on.
So I don't know where that comes from, but sometimes the more people respect each other, the more kind they become too.
Of course.
So there's that in there. So I'm not sure where the line is drawn.
You know,
between those
you say that, where they respect each other. When I was teaching in schools, and I went to McDuffie, they had a dress code. And even when I was in New Mexico, when they had, some days they dress up. When you have students that, in general, if they dress up, they tend to be more respective of their fellow student. Why? I don't know, they care more. They care their appearance, they're not gonna do something stupid. But I
What do you
fo-
mean they're more respectful when they dress up? You don't want to say?
Less fights,
Okay.
less arguing, less negative things going on. I'm a firm believer they should have dress codes in schools, because if they dress nicer, well, the kids that dress sloppily and slovenly.
Has it made a
they-
difference in Springfield?
They don't, I don't know, I have no idea.
I don't know.
But
I have
Rabbi-
no idea, but they dress slovenly, they don't care about their
Rabbi
attitude.
Akiva's students died for one of the reasons because they didn't respect.
They didn't respect each other,
They didn't
right.
respect each other. And you
Right.
can have all the love in the world, but you gotta have the respect.
Yes, you got to. And it shows, you know, in sometimes
And that
in your
comes from
demeanor.
this type of process. This is the prohibitory process. It's very, very positive.
It's what you don't do is more
Okay.
positive, yeah.
Okay, Gershon,
Finish.
take it home. 1011 in the middle.
When?
When a person performs an active commandment, he causes the coupling of Zer, Ampin, and Nukba, which are indicated by the Vav He of the name Havaya and the word mitzvah. For the letters of the name Havaya are the same as the word mitzvah, except that the first two letters of each are transformed into each other via Atbash, as stated. Then, the numerical value of the Vav He is added to that of the word for my remembrance, to give 248 active commandments. Thus, in performing active commandments, there is no need to transform the letters that indicate these commandments, Vav He, in producing the word mitzvah, since the union they effect, that of Zerampin and Nukba, is not hidden and is that effected by observing passive commandments. It's not hidden as is.
What it
Is that
says
correct?
is
It's not as is
that
something is
that the
not,
positive, the active mitzvahs are more,
As is that affected by the,
are the active mitzvah,
as is that affected by
no, let me
observing
say,
passive
That's
commandments?
the active mitzvahs, you see something happening, there's an action, there's
Yeah,
something
you see
going
it,
on,
yeah.
so it's more obvious. The godliness is more obvious. By passive, by the prohibitions, it's by not doing it is how we bring the thing. So it means that it's hidden. That's all it says.
One is revealed more, one is hidden. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
That's all it says.
Earlier in this parsha, Moshe said, "The hidden things are to Hashem, our God, but the revealed things are to us and our children forever, to do everything in this Torah." It is explained that the hidden, that's the 911, with the dots on top. It is explained that the hidden things refers to the first two letters of the name Havaya, Yud Hey, which indicates Abba and Ima, here alluded to by the words Hashem, our God. The word for but the revealed things, Beha Niglot, begins with the letters Bab Hey, and can thus be read, Bab Hey are revealed, alluding to the union of Bab Hey, Zerampin and Nukba, the children of Abba and Ima.
That's it.
The pasuk says, "Hanis teros Hashem Elokeinu," the hidden things belong to Hashem. V'haniglos lanu lefanenu, but the revealed are for us and our children. And so the hidden things refers to the first, the first two letters of Hashem's name. But what's revealed, v'haniglos, vav hey, niglos, vav hey is revealed. That's the first two letters.
But it's still, that's just Zerampin and Malchus. You can't separate people.
Okay? Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. We should come up with the volume too. Okay, thank you for visiting.
The prohibition, this is very powerful stuff. This is really great.
I will not be
And
here.
even more, it may